Yo everyone, what's going on? Couriway here, and welcome back to another episode of our 100k runs report. This is going to be the second episode. I changed up the title a little bit. I like the sound of 100k runs report. You got the double R runs report. I like that. Sounds cool. You also see we have a new camera. I really like it. I can do stuff like this. Look, focus on my... Oh, it's not focused on my hand. Focus on my hand. Focus on me. Focus on my hand. Focus on me. It's really cool. The setup's a little different now too. I got some lights up here. The lighting in general should just be better, but that's kind of more thanks to the camera than anything I did. And I'm just really happy about how everything is turning out in this room. You're not here for all the technical stuff though. You're here for the 100k runs report, right? You want to hear what's been going on in the 100k challenge, which again, I live stream on my Twitch almost every day. Not really at the time of this uploading because I'm going to play in TwitchCon Rotterdam for MCC Twitch Rivals, which is going to be phenomenal. And after I get back from that, then these runs will really start kicking into high gear. But I've been streaming a lot recently to get videos out for while I'm gone, and that's why I'm recording this now. I'm actually leaving in like 2 days, so at the time of recording this, so I really gotta get this video out there. There's a lot of great feedback on the first episode. A lot of people seem to really like this format because so many people can't tune into the streams all the times, and with how many runs I'm doing, there's bound to be things that people miss or want to catch up on, and I think this is just a really good way to do it. So I really appreciate all the nice feedback on the first episode. And if you remember in that first episode, the runs did not go that great. But at this point, especially at the time of recording this, I feel like we've really gone past that, and I want to showcase that in these runs today. So without further ado, let's get into the runs. At the end of the last report, I mentioned that I had hoped, even though the last run of the day was awful, the fact that we ended with a nice 0 cycle after everything we went through meant that it would be a good omen moving forward into the next runs. So let's see if that holds up. The first run of this report was on June 17th, 2024, and it was a nice cave overworld with a big drop and a lava pool pretty much directly on my dig down, but this nether was truly the good omen. I spawned in with a close bastion and a fortress right next to it, and the bastion turns out to be a housing. Unfortunately, these piglins did not get the memo about this nether being amazing, and I had to trade literally every gold block in this bastion just to get more than 12 pearls. This was like a 5-minute time loss compared to if they gave me 16 or even 15 or 14 pearls. Like I could leave, but 12 is just so risky without using a calculator. Even though the stronghold ended up being far, we were very close with our second portal, and as soon as I entered, I heard silverfish, so I could instant nav to the portal room where once in the end, I tried to do a ground zero, but my mouse phantom moved from the precise angle I needed while I was literally holding it upside down. So I'm not sure what was going on there, but surely it was a fluke, and we finished with a 22-minute 8-second time even with the mishaps due to the pearl trades. For the second seed of the day, I am right next to an enterable ruin portal, and even with an ocean nearby, because I didn't see a boat, I headed in this cave for quicker iron. I already had an enter. There was no reason to go ocean if I didn't see anything. I didn't want to go too far away. I ended up playing a treasure bastion and found a different spawner spike earlier that I know is a fortress, so I was hoping I could get all my trades and not have to deal with the bottom, but I couldn't even get 10 obsidian. So heading down to bottom treasure gives me 10 more gold blocks just to trade in this chest. I navigated really nicely to the fort, and on my blind, I had a 3.6 angle change, which means the stronghold is only about 300 blocks away. So I just try to get a dolphin and hope it's ocean exposed. The dolphin wanted no part of me though, and it wasn't ocean exposed, but I was still able to enter the end, and after another phantom movement on my mouse during ground zero, I still somehow beat the game in under 20 minutes. My chat thought the problem with my mouse, like I kind of hold it like this when I do 0 cycle. I just look, I can hold it. Oh, look at that, it focuses. I kind of like, I don't hold it this high, but this is kind of how I hold my mouse during 0 cycle. And my chat was thinking that it's because of the lights that I have that it was maybe messing with the sensor. So what I started doing instead of holding it like this, I've been holding it like this now. I'm sorry, it's still blurry. I guess that's the, I can put it in front of my face. I've been holding it like this now. And then I kind of just, right click and middle click with the mouse to get the beds and everything. But this seems to be working better. So hopefully that just keeps happening in the future and it's all good now. I'm not going to waste too much time on the third seed. We have a lot to get to. All you need to know is I only got 3 iron in my buried treasure chest, and this piglin somehow joined me on the bridge chalice, which was a little scary. Then, according to my chat, my trade luck was so bad, it was 1 in 21,000. So I had to play a second bastion and the dragon flew on 0 cycle. But compared to what we had to deal with in the last report, this has been a cakewalk so far, let me tell you. Next up, we had a cosmetic blacksmith. So thank you so much for that lovely loot. It's hard to show in the footage, but just know I was so happy with how I played this overworld. Every decision was just 100% correct, and my confidence and mindset just went through the roof from it. That didn't continue in the nether though. Not to say I was playing bad, but I did some silly stuff like pearl hang back to my home portal when I had 20 obsidian, and I had absolutely no reason to. I learned from my mistakes last week and played a scary Basalt Fortress much better, and I finished up the endgame for a respectable time of 24 minutes and 1 second. Remember like 2 seeds ago when I got 3 iron from a buried treasure, and that's like a pretty rare thing that happens? Yeah, well, that happened again. But this time, I decided to play incredibly aggressive and do something I never do, which is just rip a quick enter without an iron pickaxe. I rarely do this because when playing no reset, it's all about consistency. But since I also got 2 TNT, I felt that no matter what bastion I got, even if I didn't get iron, I could make it work with the TNT. But not to worry, as I did end up getting the iron in the stables bastion, and even though there wasn't a good gap, thanks to a triple chest and mining gold in the outer section, we were able to make it work. While heading to the stronghold, a friend did want to join the journey there, but I had to say no, unfortunately. And even though I didn't get a quick perch for the sub 20, I was able to get jump scared by an enderman and get a nice 20-minute, 20-second time. For the 6th seed, I tried to go ocean, but instead got nothing but a cave with 900 billion zombies. Why does this keep happening to me? Like, if I was in a zombie apocalypse, do they really think I would like taste that good or something? I don't know what is going on recently. I had a long way to go for this bastion, but hit up a double blaze spawner before heading all the way out to it. And once we got there, this crazy interaction happened. Dude, who is this guy? Oh, dude, that is crazy. Thankfully, it didn't end up mattering that much, but like that is just a wild interaction with the Hoglin. This still would have had a good chance of hitting the prediction, which was sub 25, but I had literally no terrain from Bastion to second portal coordinates and broke an entirely fresh iron pickaxe just to get there. The icing on the cake was this anchor during zero cycle, breaking a block under me, almost knocking me off, but thankfully we had more underneath, keeping me upright long enough to finish the dragon off. This next seed had a really silly overworld style that I have never seen before. I really wanted to just cave in a plains near my spawn, but I just couldn't find anything, and because of that, I had to commit to an ocean that was really far away and already 2 minutes into the run. But this ocean was awesome, giving me a boat, and even with fake magma, I was still able to enter in just over 4 minutes. Then after trading basically everything in the stables, I had to deal with 5,479 wither skeletons. Yes, do not double check me. I did count and it's absolutely correct. If you're really unsure, maybe you can double check me in the comments. I didn't think I'd have enough pearls to go for a zero cycle, but thanks to this 2-eye, I do. Let me just instantly ruin that though by pearling into the crystal. And because of that, I have to settle for a ground zero, but we're still able to get sub 25, so that works for me. And you thought that ocean start was crazy? Then you have to see this one, because oh my goodness. I almost instantly see a boat right near my spawn and decide for the first time since the move to go for a monument. For those of you who don't know, monuments have 8 gold blocks, so if you're able to get to a monument and see one and mine into it without getting mining fatigue, you can grab those 8 gold blocks. The speedrunners know where they are, and it's almost like a mini portable bastion you can take with you entering the nether. Thankfully, I don't end up getting hit with mining fatigue, and I'm entering the nether 700 blocks out with 8 gold blocks at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I cannot stress this enough. If I was resetting for like a good monument time, this enter would be ridiculous. Getting something like this in no reset is absurd, because even if I don't get 10 obsidian from the monument gold, I can just go back through my home portal and I'm only like 500 blocks from the stronghold ring. So this is just an unbelievably high quality overworld for the start here. But I'm reminded of the fact that I can't reset very quickly, as this nether is awful. And after breaking through this horrible terrain to a bastion, I somehow hit a piglin while mining, causing everyone to aggro onto me, signing off my own death wish. Yeah, so that wasn't too epic, I don't think. This death sucked, but honestly, this is such a rare interaction where a piglin actually messes with your mining. Usually the interaction goes where I can still mine the block, but I guess I just wasn't careful enough, and it's something I need to be more careful with in the future. I get back surprisingly fast, all things considered, and on the bright side, they traded all of the gold from the monument already. After getting just a couple more trades, we juke some withers in the fortress, find a hidden dungeon, only one this time, and hit a nice bounce back zero, but still somehow looked at an enderman and play ring around the rosy with him until the portal opens. The last run, we were really able to bounce back on. This next one, I don't know, you'll have to see. So we got a village near an ocean that after killing the golem and dealing with this idiot, I can use to swim into a cave with some magma. Just ignore the part where I mess it up and had to mine obsidian. Thank you. Once we're in the nether though, there's no bastion in 32 render, aka the max. So I have to play a scary fortress first before traveling nearly 1,000 blocks just to get to a bridge, where somehow I make a play as dumb as this. Whatever. Dude, no, there's no way out. I think I just gotta try and save the gold. Dude, I couldn't even get the gold off, man. Oh my god. Wait, that's so bad. I completely spaced here, and this is just something that at this point I should just know way better than to do. Especially when the consequences of dying are traveling 1,000 blocks again if I want to get back to my stuff. The correct play here was just to always do a safer route in the middle of the bastion called Donkey Kong, which is just way more consistent and faster for no reset anyway. So I was just being really lazy. And being lazy and complacent is like the one thing I can never afford to do in no reset speedrunning. So I should absolutely know better at this point, and this was a huge wake-up call for not only today, but the next couple days as well. I even saw the sword dude there, but I was just so confident that like I wouldn't get knocked the way I did. And boy, was I wrong. This culminated in me having to run it back, but somehow I die due to some funky boat stuff, and almost immediately after, my PC just crashes. That's just a lovely combo, isn't it? But finally, I can replay the fortress first, and then I have to head to a different bastion since all the gold most likely burned. I also need iron because I was playing a little crazy, but thankfully this housing clutched up, and even though I got literally 0 explosives and had to shear sheep, I got everything else and we were able to finish off this run miraculously in almost under 45 minutes. I can't stress this enough. In the last no reset recap, we had a black run, which is the worst it can be. I didn't give this run black, but looking back, this death that happened in this bastion was honestly probably worse than the death that happened in the black run. It's just the rest of the seed wasn't as bad, which is really saying something to be a black run because oh my god, it's got to be horrific. And I know this one was really bad on its own, but we still have one more run that we can bounce back on. And I wanted nothing more than that. Each of the first 3 days of stream since moving, the times for the final runs have been awful. It was time to finally change that. But the overworld didn't look like anything special, and after almost ruining my lava pool, we enter the nether to a fortress right nearby and a bastion about 20 chunks in the same direction. I dig into the housing, and because of the terrain, just barely miss out on a sub 10 fortress, which has been eluding me for too long now. And even with a misplaced obby that, to be honest, I'd really like to tell you that didn't happen, but it did. We were on fire regardless, and it ended with an ocean exposed portal room that ended up being a 5-eye. And of course, we finished strong with an offset back 0 cycle. Not the easiest thing in the world to hit, but we make it happen for by far the fastest time in Miami so far with a 16-minute 48-second legendary bounce back run. This run seriously made me so happy because everything on this day besides the 46-minute run was incredible, and ending on this instead of the 46-minute run really just put into perspective how much we've grown in just these 4 days already, and made me really look forward to the next 2 days of this recap. And let me tell you right now, that last run we had was an absolutely amazing omen for the start of day 2. The first run of the day starts with a mid shipwreck, but a close map to still get a really fast nether enter, and nailed some great rates going to a fortress first since the bastion was far. But it was the same direction as the fort, so it was chill. I even had enough iron for an anvil if I wanted to when it was all said and done, and once I couldn't do 0 because of a cage spawn, the iron clutched up with allowing me to hit a ground 0 for a great first time of the day. And trust me when I tell you, we are just getting started. But before we can get started on the seed, my game just decided to completely break in the overworld and ghosted. Normally this is something that happens on like a nether enter rarely. I had never seen this in an overworld, so like, yeah, it's annoying, but it's also kind of cool. But when I relogged, I just lost 30 seconds, and this overworld was annoying enough with a bad village and a slow enter, but I guess it's even slower than it would have been now. I thought this nether was going to be bad when I had this wall in front of me, but boy, was I wrong once I finally got through. Check this one out. Is the Twitch cape still available? I have to deeply apologize. Wait a minute. Okay. It wasn't as fast as it looked though, thanks to double single bridge, but what brought it right back was 140 block blind. The dragon did fly on 0 cycle, but again, I had my ground setup ready to go for a sub 19. This is a great start so far, but it's only 2 runs. We gotta keep it up. Next up is a sub 5 structureless overworld, and even with playing top and bottom treasure, we were in the fortress and encountered zombie nation while in the overworld, figuring out stronghold distance, with 3 of them joining me right back in the nether. The stronghold was in the ocean, but unfortunately nothing was exposed, which is always a bit annoying, and for the 3rd seed in the row, we can hit a ground 0, just barely missing out on a sub 20. Don't worry though, I promise you right now, this is an official Couriway promise, we will have more sub 20s today. And it might even be in this next run, because we have a lava pool right at spawn, but it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows as we had to fight demons in this cave before getting any stone, so it was only a 5-minute 30-second enter, which is about average. We end up with the 3rd treasure of the day, and again we mine the top and bottom for 20 obsidian and have amazing terrain to a Soul Sand Valley fortress. Even a 1900 block distance stronghold couldn't slow us down, as for the 4th time in a row to start the day, we end with a ground 0, and this is the fastest run so far for an 18-minute 19-second time. After these 4 runs, we were on pace for the 2nd fastest day ever in this challenge, averaging a time of 19 minutes and 50 seconds. Sub 20 average for 4 no reset runs. I felt great about my gameplay as well and really wanted to keep up the pace, playing aggressive, trying to have an average day of sub 20 for the whole runs, not just these 4. So to start at the 5th seed, we have a blacksmith and a lava pool on the way. It was also a rare situation where I could play the village without any wood, which is always a bit silly. Unfortunately though, this nether was the first rougher one of the day, even though it still wasn't all too bad. But as I was routing this housing, I got hit at the bottom to die, even though I had already blocked myself in from the pigs. This was a pretty annoying death because most of the time when you're blocked in like that, the piglins cannot hit you. But there's rare instances where they can kind of bump into each other and really squeeze you in, and that ends up happening. And then I, probably would have helped if I didn't also punch this pig on the way down, so they would have been distracted on the gold, so that's on me. I really didn't want to ruin the mood though, and we got back pretty quick. So after a shaky fortress split, we clutched back up in the end with a nice redemption 0 and close out our worst run of the day in only 26 minutes and 50 seconds. Okay, so let's hope we got the 1 death out of the way today, and let's get back on track. The 6th seed was already the toughest overworld so far, as I had to dig down for pretty much everything. Although luckily my lava was right near the iron I had already mined. It took a lot of blocks to get to the bastion, but we finally got there, got our trades, and headed to a very far fort where, again, not my cleanest gameplay. Couriway, please stop falling. And although it may have been scary, we finished off this very mid seed with a 0 cycle to lock in another sub 25. Obviously, at this point, my average time has gone up a bit, but it's still good enough where if we keep it up, we can still finish with a top 10 day ever. And that would be so great after everything we went through for the first 3 days and the first episode of this recap. It would really just mean a lot to know that I still have my gameplay abilities and I didn't leave that all in a extra box in New Jersey somehow. For the next seed, I'm right next to a ravine to get everything I need, and even got diamonds on the way to my lava for a pickaxe. Normally, diamond picks can save a lot of situations, but it can't help me in this housing bastion with lava flowing entirely throughout. So after a wacky backup route and 39 obsidian to make the diamond pickaxe completely useless, we head to a fortress with a double spawner for me to have fun with. On the way to the second portal, I accidentally went to the wrong coordinates, but having 900 obsidian really clutched up here as my chat had my back and we made the correction. I still haven't eye spied since I moved, and I have no idea how that's possible. Maybe that's the thing I left in New Jersey, my ability to triangulate. And after prelling into this crystal trying to do 0 cycle, this was the first seed of the day where I had to whip out the bow and knock out some crystals for half bow instead, but thankfully still locked in a sub 21 minute time. It was nice to get another respectable time after the last 2 bumpy ones, but I would like to go fast again, please. I spawned on a shoreline with a close half ship right in my view, and the buried treasure was directly nearby for my food. This allowed me to make a quick enter even though the magma ravine was super scuffed and we are in the nether right around the 330 mark. I get a bastion close and the fort is visible, so immediately I really lock in and try to cook. But this was another double single bridge bastion, killing the pace just a bit. I still do my best to get a sub 10 fort enter, and after dealing with our rod friends, the distance to the stronghold is unfortunately pretty far, which kills the sub 15 pace. But it didn't kill it by much, as I was still able to finish off the dragon with a ground 0 for a 15 minute 31 second time. And that is another new PB in Miami, and one that I'm really happy with and probably will stand for a little bit longer than a day at this point. This run just goes to show how nice it is when you finally have some linearity in a no reset run and actually get a fast enter. Having that enter allowed me to mess around a little bit more in the nether, but I didn't even really need to because I knew where both my structures were, so the routing for it in my head was very simple. Only 2 more runs are separating me from a day with a top 10 time ever, but it wasn't going to be easy. And for the 9th run, I made a mistake that I've never done before the run even started. Did I do pred, chat? We gotta do pred. 9th seed sub 22. Yes. Pred was done. Wait, what did I do? Did I break the pred? Or what did I just close? Did I break the pred? Uh-oh. That's the first time I've ever done that. That's crazy. It means that I made an oopsie. And now everyone's gonna take this cat because I made an oopsie mistake. Chat, what do you think we should do? Should I just play it and try and sub 22 and hope that I sub 22'd? And then we could go from there. If we cook a sub 22 right now, not everyone gets scammed. I have literally never done that before, and now I have even more pressure on the prediction because I don't want people having lost their points to my error. But this overworld was not going to make that easy. I was trying so hard to find a village, only for it to be an abandoned spruce village with nothing useful. So after a bunch of nonsense, we had a slow enter with absolutely no terrain to a treasure bastion, the slowest in the game. And in case it wasn't fully over yet for me to be a psychic, the 32 chunk diagonal fortress was the final nail in the coffin. But just in case it wasn't, I also had to kill 24 blazes. So now it's Yeah, it's definitely gone now. Because of what's at stake though with the top 10 day ever, we can't just give up. I cranked the endgame as fast as I could still, and after setting up for ground zero, the dragon perched for the unique ground zero 1 cycle interaction, and we still finished in under 30 minutes. Even with that run, if we just get one more run around the same time, around 22-23 minutes, it's possible for this to be a top 10 day ever. Pigs had taken over this overworld and decided there were going to be no caves anymore. But finally, I found something to mine in, but this seed really wasn't going to give me any breaks as I mined nearly 40 gravel for a piece of flint. With the bastion being far in the nether, we had another fortress first seed today, this time with a glowstone blaze spawner, which I guess at least gives me some explosive materials for later. But to go fast, I made a risky play of leaving on 7 rods. And speaking of risky, my iron pick literally broke during the mining of the chalice. I was really doing my best to go as fast as possible, but this could be a big problem. Thankfully, it was okay, but not thankfully, I was only going to get 10 obsidian. Not a chance in the world for 2 portals here, and we are way too far for home portal. So we just have to send the blind. And it pays off. The stronghold is actually pretty close and it's exposed in the ocean. So even after dealing with some scary ocean stronghold mobs, we could enter the end. But it still wasn't over. I had no arrows from the bastion. Zero was impossible because of the spawn. And we already know about the iron situation for ground zero. So I just had to wait for the perch and I had no idea if it would be fast enough. After beating the game, I literally still wasn't sure. But after putting in the stats and checking, nice. All right, top 10 day ever? There it is, baby. Top 10 days all time are now sub 22. That's awesome. Let's freaking go. The next thing, I need to get my top 10 fastest times to all be sub 15. The fact that this hasn't happened yet is crazy. We need to lock in on this. We did it. An amazing way to end the day and such a relief that I'm finally starting to play better. These seeds were definitely better than average, but that needs to happen for a top 10 day ever. And I did what was necessary to make it happen. And I'm so happy about it. But what I really want to do now is prove that this wasn't a fluke. I want to set this standard going forward for the runs in Miami. And I had to do that tomorrow. So let's jump right into run 3471, where I mined 8 diamonds while finding lava to enter the nether with, and with a housing close by, we were able to jump right into the trading hall that gave me so many pigs. While leaving though, I had no spawner in 32 chunks, but I remember seeing a spike closer to where I entered the nether, so after heading back to find a fortress, I left the nether and got a 3-degree angle change, aka the stronghold is like 300 blocks away. So for the first time in Miami, I finally spy into the stronghold and tried to play for an insta-perch to hit the sub 22 production, but it just wasn't fast enough, although I was still happy to finish with a 22-minute 3-second finish to start the day. Good start, but let's keep it going like I said I wanted to. I spawned near a coast, but don't see anything in the ocean and play it safe with the friends over here. Once in the nether, I had a bastion right at my spawn, but I was really high up and it was completely buried, so it was really difficult to find even though it was so close. This caused me to get a bit impatient and try to force a chest once I entered the stables, causing me an early death and only the 2nd seed of the day. You know, this actually may come as a surprise to some of you, but this is actually what I did not want to happen. So I needed to really get my mental under control and not rush if I wanted to have another successful day of running. It was still very early and I absolutely needed to control my own destiny. What didn't make that easy was that there wasn't a good gap with gold in the stable. So after grabbing everything I could, I had to head to another bastion with 1 in 7,000 absurd string trades. Oh, and I left the bastion with 55 obsidian. Surely that's enough. And after some wither silliness in the fort and a 2,500 block stronghold distance, I rallied myself back to still finish with a 0 cycle and an overall respectable enough time of 32 minutes. Hopefully, this is the only death of the day, even though it's only the 2nd run. Honestly, I was really happy with this final time because we had 2 different bastions and a death, and if this time ended up being like 40xx, it could have really ruined my mental for the rest of the day. But 32 minutes, although it's not a time I'm shooting for, it's not like the end of the world. Like, it can still be a good day overall if that's the worst run. So let's put that run behind us and let's make every other run today great. And that starts with an actual mapless buried treasure where I unfortunately only got 6 iron. But it's not the end of the world as I could mine for more in a magma ravine where I still got a quick enter with a closed housing bastion that I could manhunt. After leaving though, we didn't head to a fortress. We headed to Trevor, the bastion instead. And I thought I might be heading to a 2nd, but it turns out my entity counter was just through the roof because of magma cube nation in this basalt biome. Another far blind being 2,300 blocks away for the stronghold, but we snuck in a sub 25 even with all the shenanigans. For the next seed, we ended up visiting another village that was a bit more standard to what you'd see in an actual speedrun thanks to this closed surface lava pool. And this enter ended up putting me right on top of a fortress. I also loaded a bastion close enough by, so I decided to play for that first, as if I didn't end up getting 20 obsidian, I could just use my home portal like I've done in previous runs. But in this bastion, I struggled to even get 10 obsidian. So after finally getting the 10th piece, I head back to the fort and could not find a spawner to save my life. But after making this nightmare work, we ended with a clean 0, but I had to check after the run, to figure out what the heck was going on with this fortress. There's a jungle in the distance. Wow, how cool would it have been if the spawners weren't in the middle of nowhere? Wouldn't that have been so cool? Let's see, man. Where's the second one? Dude, like, oh, yeah, no. That's my, guys, that's clearly my fault. What I should have done is when I was coming back from the bastion, I should have looked here. I should have looked here because then I would have seen the spawner. That's obviously my bad. I knew I had to mine through this, but I didn't realize it was still 20 more freaking blocks, man. Unfortunately, this next run spawns me in one of the worst biomes for speedrunning, a tundra. But I do have villages and decide to just kill multiple golems for my iron. Or I would have if I didn't rip this in a hidden blacksmith chest. The obsidian here allowed for a fast nether enter with a close treasure that I left without breaking the spawner because of the pace that I could be on. This ended up somewhat paying off, but the fortress was so buried, it really killed any great pace. Thankfully, we did get a close enough blind where after waiting for a perch, I quite literally just snuck in a sub 20 speedrun at 19 minutes and 59 seconds. We haven't had back-to-back sub 20 speedruns yet in Miami, so I was really locked in for this next run, which has a lava pool right near the spawn, but unfortunately nothing else was too close by, so after running around, I head to a desert temple right next to an enterable ruined portal at least, which hooked me up with a diamond pickaxe and an enchanted golden apple. The piglins were not having it at all in the stables, and after begging and pleading for pearls, we could finally head to a basalt fortress with my spawner half buried. I mean, it's better than the last time I got a buried spawner at least. And the TNT from the temple was a huge help here. We even get an ocean exposed portal room, but we just barely couldn't get a sub 20, but close it out with a 20-minute, 59-second run. Before we move on to the next run though, you have to see what my chat caught that I didn't see after the run. Can I check the stronghold? Sure. What did you think you saw? Oh, room portal? Nice, nice, nice. Oh, it's a freaking... Dude. Large. It just took over. It's so goofy how it gens like that. Like, why is it not in here? Oh, because it's a chunk thing. That's so funny. This game is so weird. The runs have been amazing since the 32-minute run, but I really want to keep keeping that up the rest of the day. That was really poor wording. That's hard to do though when I only get 3 iron from this boat, but it wasn't all bad with a really close buried treasure for more food and a magma ravine. The bridge bastion here had an unreal obsidian chest to help me get to the fortress quicker, where we did a cave-educated stronghold distance estimation, which ended up being under a village, and with an extremely clean 0-cycle setup, we were able to nail an 18-minute, 46-second run. 3 more runs to go today, and this one starts with a ruined portal and a shipwreck in this ocean where I was going to head to a buried treasure, but pivoted to this village since all I needed was food. We got another pretty good nether enter where this housing was perfect for another manhunt route, and another great obby chest at the top here saved me from having to leave with only 10 obsidian, and even a well-hidden fortress couldn't stop me from finishing this run out quick with an ocean exposed stronghold and a decent half-bow perch for not only back-to-back sub 20s, but back-to-back sub 19 speedruns for the first time in the new apartment. This is exactly what I was talking about in the last section of the video where I was saying I didn't want the previous day to be a fluke. If I didn't have that 32-minute run weighing me down, this could be another top 10 day ever, potentially even top 5. But even with it though, if I kept it up for these last 2 runs, it could be a top 20 day ever. And it doesn't sound amazing, but there's been over 300 days in this challenge so far. So that's pretty good. But more important than all of that, this has just been really fulfilling to play this confidently and well for the past 2 days. And I hope that I can keep building on this consistency for the rest of the challenge. Overall today, I've been getting lucky with lava pools, and there's another one close to my spawn here where I head to another village that did not cooperate as much as I'd like. But I do get the fastest wood light of all time, so I guess things even out. Even with backups in this bridge bastion, I was only able to get 20 pearls, which is pretty unlucky, but what wasn't unlucky, and more so a skill issue, was me forgetting I did a wood light and not having any way to light my portal once in the fortress. So after some improvisation, I make an FNS in the overworld so that does not happen again, and got quite silly with looking at Enderman in the end to finish off this run with the 3rd run that ends in 59 seconds today, and also our 7th sub 25 speedrun in a row. And finally, the last run of the day and the recap. Let's end this the right way. It's a bit of a weird overworld. With some funky mob interactions in a cave, I headed all the way up a mountain for some food, which led me to an enterable ruined portal somehow. Definitely cool with that one. What wasn't cool was almost dying in the tiniest terrain gap I've ever seen that definitely would have gave me a heart attack if I fell there. And another ender pearl puts me right at the bridge chalice. The bridge hooks me up with everything I need, but the fortress is far, and I had to deal with so many clowns while just trying to triangulate the stronghold. This guy also joined me in the nether, but not for long. My bad. And then we get to the end of the run with 1 more 0 cycle to beat the game in 20 minutes and 9 seconds, officially ending the day with a top 20 session of all time during this challenge. So finally, let's end this video with the 2nd State of the Runs address. The comparison of this video to the last video should be night and day to everyone. I can't express how much better I played and how much better I just felt playing. just getting used to everything, I really can't stress enough how much that has helped me. And of course, there was a lot going on during this time. As you could tell, my camera was very different, and it'll be different in the upcoming videos as well, because now I have the camera, so it'll be like the third time that the gameplay cameras are different. But it's just so nice going forward and being confident in everything that I have, just fully putting everything on me now. I enjoy that pressure. I enjoy just being able to completely dial in and focus when it's finally the time to. And really being almost fully moved in now. I mean, we pretty much are. It's what I can do now. But we might have to go through this again, as I'm going on vacation in 2 separate places over the next week. The first trip I'm going to is Atlanta, and that was supposed to be the only trip, but then I got invited to TwitchCon Rotterdam to play in MCC, and how was I going to say no? So I'm flying to Atlanta, then I'm flying back from Atlanta to Miami on the day that I'm also flying from Miami to Atlanta for a connecting flight from Atlanta to Amsterdam, and then I'm taking a train from Amsterdam to Rotterdam to play in MCC. Then me and my girlfriend are going to stay in Amsterdam for a couple more days because we're going to Europe for the first time in our lives. We might as well make the most of it. So I'm going to be gone from June 25th to July 4th, which is like 9 days. So I'm not going to play Minecraft on my setup for 9 days again. I might come back rusty. I might come back, you know, kind of bummed out that I'm not in vacation with my friends anymore. I don't know how I'm going to come back, but knowing that eventually it will work out in these runs, like I had just proven today, that once I get back in the routine, like it will all come back. It might not come back at the time you want, but it will come back. Is just a real relief to me knowing that I'm leaving. And that's why I'm trying to crank out these videos for y'all, because I want to make sure you have something when I'm gone and not being able to stream this challenge. But let me tell you, when I get back, it is absolutely 100% full force running time. And I cannot wait for that. And I think that's a good state of the address. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to check out the streams. Please subscribe if you haven't already. This is my full-time job at the moment. If you want to support me, it's a great way to support me. Leave a comment, leave a like, tune into the streams for sure. And I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you, and I'll see you then. Bye, everyone.